There's nothing like a Lifetime movie. A flurry of cliches, stereotypes, and stretching holidays way too far. These movies are a staple of any person who's taking a break from a Law & Order SVU marathon or just flipping through the channels. And they have a special place in my heart. They are truly the movies for any person who has ever thought, I could write a movie. The movie equivalent to slowing down to view a wreck on the highway. I consider every viewing of these movies to be a study of the craft, particularly what not to do in the craft. But there are always some diamonds in this rough, and that's what I hope to discover. Disclaimer, although the title of this series particularly calls out Lifetime movies, many movies from different networks can be what I consider a Lifetime movie. There's only really one hard rule. It has to be a made-for-TV movie. I had no way of knowing that I would find the quintessential Lifetime movie within the first episode of this series. I had already decided that I was going to try to keep this series holiday themed, because, let's be honest, every month has a Lifetime holiday to go with it. However, Thanksgiving was proving difficult to find. No Thanksgiving dinner romantic rivalries. No cutesy turkey farm. Not even an adaptation of the first Thanksgiving with a rose-colored lens over the gruesome parts. In fact, I could only find one that was specifically related to Thanksgiving. And thank God I did. Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade is a parade of fanfiction AU ideas and quirky theories about love that is trying desperately to mimic more classic romantic comedies. Meet generic quirky female protagonist.
Why do I love the parade? Why do I wear vintage?
Because you're quirky and odd.
Her name is something Britishy and classic to really cement her as our heroine, because her name reminds us of Jane Austen. She's also played by a woman doing her best Reese Witherspoon trying to do a Meg Ryan impression. Ew. Her job is something nondescript with the Thanksgiving Day Parade that I could not explain even if I was watching the scene where they try to explain it at this very moment. A job that also doesn't seem like a year gig, or to be making nearly enough money to afford her swanky apartment. She has 3 things that make her quirky. Her love of vintage clothing, her cats that she doesn't actually own but feeds, and her inexplicable fear of boats, which she actually says is inexplicable.
I'm afraid of boats. I've never even been on a boat, so I'm not sure why, but still.
She also has a boyfriend that she doesn't really connect with, who she wishes would become her fiancé that she doesn't really connect with. Will our quirky heroine get that ring? Well, first we have to be introduced to generic business love interest. He probably had a bad childhood or a rough upbringing to excuse his general dickishness. But hey, at least he's as good looking as the 10,000 other Hallmark movie love interests. He's in the city to destroy the heroine's favorite thing, which in this case is the Thanksgiving Day Parade. His way of destroying the beloved parade? Being logical and practical rather than idealistic.
Santa Claus comes floating down the street to the delight of children young and old.
What about when all the spectators are gone? They've dropped their styrofoam cups, lost one glove, and left a huge mess behind. Who's responsible for the cleanup? How does the city recoup the losses in revenue when State Street is closed down for 48 hours?
His logic and practicality is obviously a flaw to be overcome. So now that we have a firm grasp of the easily identifiable characteristics of our leads, it's time to push them together in some contrived plot device. It just so happens that this one is directly ripped from You've Got Mail, when a bookstore which Jane has obviously a very important connection to, although we have no idea what that connection is being closed by the evil corporate love interest. They snipe at each other, and that's when Mr. Wrong drops my favorite line in anything.
No one buys books anymore. They download them.
He's truly a villain. Don't think too hard about how these two things are not as diametrically opposed as people seem to think, and that there is a place for both mediums in today's modern society. However, that's a rant for another video. For now, we have to set up these two as complete opposites, so it's all the more satisfying when they end up together. We then have their official meeting at the office, where they again drop a line that tells me the screenwriter has a drag and drop file of the most essential romantic comedy lines open when trying to write this script.
Look, we don't have to like each other, but over the next few weeks we do have to work together.
Thus begins the compilation of all the romantic trope scenes from every romantic comedy ever, whether they make sense for this story or not. There's a grocery store happenstance meeting, restaurant debate that turns into a date, complete with restaurant owner with childhood connection to the heroine for her tragic backstory reveal, dancing with other couples that ends up with them dancing together, fake out proposal from boyfriend that ends with karaoke sing-along and locked on the roof scene. Yeah, robot your way to a better film, dear. Children's hospital visit. Sports game. Why is there a kiss cam at this high school basketball game? Facing your fears scene on a boat. All culminating with the important montage which shows how in love our protagonists are now. And oh yeah, remember that this film is about the Thanksgiving Day Parade? Because I didn't. Followed by a misunderstanding where the girl thinks that another girl is the love interest's girlfriend, and a quick conversation could easily have solved that misunderstanding, but no one talks to each other. Another thing that this movie attempts to do is coin all sorts of theories on life and love. You know, your men and women can't be friends, and life is a box of chocolates. However, instead of showing a story which either supports or goes against these select theories, this story doesn't have any idea why they're putting forth these theories, other than it's something they've seen in other romantic comedies. My favorite has to be Nutty Movie Night, a theory that everyone should be able to eat peanut butter and watch a movie.
Nutty Movie Night is where you sit in your underwear and you eat peanut butter out of a jar and you watch old movies.
It's unclear what this is supposed to do for people. Is it relaxing? Is it to feel more alone than you already feel? I'm not saying you're wrong, although you are excluding people with nut allergies. But why have a theory about it? Other than you wanted a scene where the characters are watching a movie together, like in When Harry Met Sally. However, all of these cliche scenes are nothing compared to the baffling ending, which I am going to spoil here, so be warned. Honestly though, you could probably guess it. Jane is at the Thanksgiving Day Parade, doing whatever her job is with the Thanksgiving Day Parade. Still unclear. I bet they were hoping people wouldn't notice that it's just old footage of the parade. I at least admire them for not trying to do green screen. While on the route, Emma finds out that her love interest, and I just realized I have no idea what his name is, so let's just call him John. It's probably something like John. John is an orphan, and only got to watch the parade from inside because a company allowed a group of orphans to watch the parade from their building. He didn't grow up rich at all. He grew up poor and parentless. Hooray! It really doesn't matter to the story, other than go against the character traits that have already been established for John up until this point, so good job, writers? It also has nothing to do with the last 10 minutes, so it's just truly baffling to introduce this reveal. However, don't spend too long thinking about that, because John has to show up in a big romantic gesture. This time, he dresses like Santa Claus to save the parade, and after resolving their misunderstanding, the two decide to get married.
And to ask you to marry me.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you heard that right. John and Catherine decide that rather than dating for an appropriate amount of time to get to know each other better than for 1 month they've known each other, the two opt to get married and let the chips fall where they may. Also, they start making out on the float, and all I could think was, there are probably a bunch of very confused kids looking to their parents for an explanation of why Santa is kissing that lady who does not look like Mrs. Claus. And we end our movie on this lovely movie maker transition. And that is Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And honestly, I love how this movie truly just skates into what it is. It doesn't just pepper in a couple cliches here and there. It is the cliche. I truly admire the fact that this movie knows that most people watching it are flipping between the channels and didn't see the beginning, so it sticks to what's familiar to make sure it's easily understood. However, by being so paint by numbers, it's also infinitely forgettable. I wrote a bunch of notes while watching the film, and to be honest, I don't remember half of what happened. Overall, Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade is a great one-stop shop for if you don't have time to watch all of Meg Ryan's movies. A great movie to pop in while the Thanksgiving turkey is cooking, because you will really pay attention to how long it's been.